Welcome back to Qatar for the opening round of the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship, where Jeffrey Hurlings, who was victorious in race 1, will be looking for a repeat over his rivals. If he gets a good start, that's a good bet that could happen. But for now though, sit back and enjoy some of the sights and sounds of Qatar. The Lusail International Motor Circuit here in Qatar, about 30 kilometers away from Doha. Plays host then to the opening round of the FIM MXGP World Championship. And next up is race 2 for MX2. Give you an idea of where we are. Temperature's still all right outside as well, hovering around the 20-degree mark. And the circuit here, just under 1,700 meters long. If you've not seen it before, it's a night race, it's flood lit. We have 32 light poles, 422 lights in total, each light powering 2,000 watts. The track was built in around about 3 months' time, originally back in 2013 for the opening round of the World Championship back then. But see, the riders just coming towards the end of their sighting lap here in Qatar, getting ready for that second race. And in a moment, we'll bring you highlights of race 1. But for an opening round, weather conditions couldn't be any better. The circuit a lot more open than it was yesterday in the qualifying race. There should be a lot more line choice out there as well, but the riders, when they come here, they know they're going to be in for a tough ride because it's hard and slick, rocky underneath. We are pretty much in the middle of the desert. There's a Moto Grand Prix circuit to the right of pit lane there, which is also run under floodlights. And because of where we are, not much else around here other than a few stadiums that start to be popping up now, because obviously 2022 we have the World Cup tournament out here, so building and a lot of building work going on all the way between the stretch out of Doha to here. So this was a highlight of MX2 race 1 then. And it was a flying start for Paul Jonas on the Red Bull KTM. As his teammate tried to go tight, Dylan Ferrandis didn't make the best jump, nor too did Thomas Covington or Jordi Tixier. The two of them actually banging bars in the middle there on the two green machines. Ben Watson was well placed in 5th on the Hitachi Revo KTM in the baby blue. But then he crashed on lap 2 out of that 5th position. He knew he was in a precarious position as well. Fortunately for him, he picked himself up and got out of harm's way. But his bike and himself were feeling a little bit second-hand. He did rejoin for a few laps, but to no avail. With the two KTMs up front, Dylan Ferrandis, number 4, was on the charge, got himself up into 4th with that pass on the 91 of Jeremy Sewa of Switzerland on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki, as Hurlings here, number 84, recovering from a broken femur back end of last year, went after his teammate, number 41, the Latvian, Paul Jonas. But Ferrandis was closing in fast, and as Hurlings went after and passed his teammate, it wasn't long before Ferrandis followed through as well. And he was up into 2nd position with that neat pass coming on to the start-finish straight. Ferrandis then went after Jeffrey Hurlings in the battle for the lead. A slight bobble there in the corner meant he lost a little bit of ground, but then he was doubling where Hurlings wasn't, and he sailed into the lead and would leave Hurlings in his wake for about the next 7 or 8 laps. But in the final 4 laps, Hurlings suddenly found himself back on the rear wheel of Dylan Ferrandis. But the man on the charge at that stage was 33, Julian Lieber, on the standing construct Yamaha Yamalu machine, as Watson finally threw in the towel. Lieber, who started down in 7th, made progress up to 5th, and then in 2 quick laps found himself in 3rd and going after Ferrandis on the Kawasaki. and Jeffrey Hurlings in what looked to become a three-way battle for the lead. Bouncing off the track and using all of the racetrack and a little bit more. He was closing in fast on Hurlings, but this guy here started to feel the heat a little bit, maybe just tightening up, maybe just a couple of mistakes creeping into the Frenchman's game. But Tim Geiser also put in a spirited ride through the pack, started in 10th and worked his way up into 4th on the 243 Garibaldi Honda. Hurlings almost ran into the back of Ferrandis as he attempted to find a way through with about 3 laps to go. And then he had another look down the inside at the end of one of the corners here, forced the Frenchman wide, and he was through with 2 to go. So Jeffrey Hurlings then had an equally tough race, just like he did in the qualifying race last night. But then he was able to wrestle his bike, but his teammate, Tixier, was hard riding, and he eventually got to 6th. But it was Hurlings from Ferrandis and Lieber were your top 3. Geiser, Seward, Tixier and Anstey.
Winner of race 1 going for that hat-trick this weekend, the perfect weekend.
So Jeffrey Hurlings, the winner of race 1, but Lisa Leyland is down on the grid. She's with Max Anstey.
Okay, so those were the highlights from race 1. I'm back on the grid for MX2 race 2, and I just want to grab a few words with Max Anstey. Max, how's it going? I know you're back on the Kawasaki, the first time since 2011. What's the general feel on the bike so far?
It's been good. To be honest, we haven't had much time on the race bike. It was first time sort of yesterday, really getting some proper time on it. So I guess it's just bike time. You know, the off season. Everyone says an off season goes great, and I've done my work and done my motos. I'd like to have had a little bit more time on the race bike before coming into here. But you know, I think we're just here to get some laps under our belt and go. And unfortunately, yesterday I was riding really well, and one of the guys stalled it, and his foot peg went through he stopped, and I ran into him, and his foot peg went through my boot. So it didn't end up going so well because I've had to have stitches in my foot, so it hurts a little bit. So I'm not busting out any big jumps at the moment. But
so that's not ideal, is it?
No, but we'll see. I mean, this next one's going to be good, and it's just nice to get some solid laps in. I mean, at the end of the day, we're scoring more points than what we did last year. Although last year we were way up front. The goal this year was just to score more than 4 points or something, because that's all we got last year. So we're getting there.
And how did race 1 go for you? You happy with the results?
Yeah, the first few laps, I struggled a little bit. I mean, my foot was really hurting. I felt a little bit cloudy because they'd given me some painkillers at the medical centre, and I was a bit all over the place. And then I got going, found my groove, no, it's okay. It's good. We've got another 30+2, so I'm ready to go. So it'll be good.
Well, best of luck. Thanks for chatting to us. Let's see how Max and the other MX2 guys get on in race 2.
Riders already down on the start line then, and it was in the qualifying race yesterday Jeffrey Hurlings who was victorious, and he will line up and has done first ahead of Thomas Covington on the Monster Energy Kawasaki, Dylan Ferrandis, his teammate, and Alexander Tonkov, number 59. Those guys will be down to our right-hand side. Max Anstey, we just talked to him a moment ago. There is the number 1 of Jordi Tixier. He came home in 8th in the qualifying, so that's where he started or lines up from. But all eyes will be on that right-hand side as we look at it, which is the left on the start line. Covington will be looking for a better start in moto number 1. Didn't see too much of him in the highlight there, but Covington didn't make the good start that he did yesterday in the qualifying race. In fact, he came around on the first official lap down in 18th place and got himself back to 11th. But Ingo Parch gives the orders for the Monster Energy 15-second board to go up. That'll turn to the Tag Heuer 5-second board. There's Tonkov, 59, and Anstey, 99. Almost time. The board changes. The revs are up. The gate's about to drop. And another great start there from Hurlings, who shoots out the gate this time, but Covington going with him. And it's Ferrandis, who's going to grab the Fox hole shot, though. And, I tell you what, it might have just been Ferrandis, who's great to see the Fox hole shot. One of the riders taking an off-track excursion, probably 6 or 7, one of the Kimiya Yamahas. But Hurlings and Ferrandis duking it out here through the wave section on the very first lap. And just like he almost did to Ferrandis' teammate, Tixier, yesterday. Almost got connected there by the rear wheel of Hurlings, who stormed into the lead. He knows he's got to get out there front in first place because his fitness might be an issue unless he's been sandbagging everybody coming into this race, and he's only had 2 weeks, he's not fit and whatever else. But hey, it's still early. 29 minutes on the clock plus 2 laps to go. 51, Jens Getterman obviously went straight on through the wave section there. So the JTech Honda rider picking himself back up and rejoining the race. As Ferrandis challenging Hurling's teammate, 41, Pals Jonas, for that second position as they came over the tabletop there. Here's your leaders, and Ferrandis still working hard, still pushed back in third position at the moment. One of the standing construct Yamahas are in there, third or in fourth or fifth position. Wasn't sure if it was a 92 or the 33 of Valentin. Right, it's actually from the size of him. It's Lieber again making a good start. There he is on that blue machine. Then Geiser, then Tonkov, then Covington, it looks like. So the American getting a much better start in moto number 2 as Hurlings comes through to come across the finish line for the first time here. So Hurlings leads the way. Ferrandis second. Wow, that was very close there. Lieber, though, got the nod in third. Geiser fourth. Tonkov fifth. Covington in sixth. Anstey seventh. Just is eighth. Seaworth's ninth. Tixier 10. Monticelli. Petar Petrov is 13th. Brian Borgers. And then Valentin Guillot, not making the most of any starts today. Growlers is next. And there is Lieber. So he nudges himself up into third place ahead of Jonas. And then Geiser there in the yellow and pink shift clothing. Ferrandis, what will he be able to offer Hurlings in the opening stages of this race? Because we know Hurlings can light the fuse and just go when he's given a whole shot. But as we say, question marks over his fitness. He managed to pull it off in the qualifying race yesterday as the back end steps out on Julian Lieber's Yamaha. But Hurlings, if he does have a fitness issue, then of course, the further he can get up front away from everybody else, if he does start to fade, he's not going to be giving up that many points, but he might be giving up the Red Plate Championship lead here to number 4, Ferrandis, if he stays there in second and is in a position to strike in the closing stage of the race. Down in 20th place, Sever Brulyakov, the Russian. Just ahead of him is Grady Featherston, Anton Lundgren, and Benoit Paturel, with Damon Growlers on the Kimiya Yamaha in 15th. But again, that double single combination for Dylan Ferrandis. Oh, Geiser's off in the background. Tim Geiser, big crash over that double jump. So Geiser out of 5th position. Got it wrong. Oh, no, it's not Geiser then. It was, who was that? Was it Jonas? No, there's Jonas. So somebody's gone off in red. Unless it was actually Geiser, and Geiser has been, yes, it was Geiser, but he saved it. Wow, that has got to be a miraculous save because he cased that double in the middle of the circuit. There he is, he comes through in 11th position. He cased it and took off the side of the track, landed on the infield. The back end was swapping from side to side. How he saved that, because when we went to him next, I thought it was a mistake, but no, it was definitely him, his colours. There's Tonkov. So Tonkov on the Wilbur Nastan Husqvarna, the Russian, number 59. He is in 5th position. Ahead of him just there, number 41, Pals Jonas on the Red Bull KTM. Hurlings, though, fastest man on track, fastest lap of the race so far, 53.862. He's 1.3 clear of Dylan Ferrandis on the Monster Energy Kawasaki in second. Leader on the standing construct. Yamalu machine is in third, but look at Covington, number 64 on the second of the Kawasaki's there, all over the back of the Russian Tonkov. Would love to try and get up to a podium position just like he did in this race last year. Moto number 2, Covington made a good start then, was able to hold his own in what was his first MX2 race, or GP I should say. But the pace in these early laps from the MX2 guys generally are pretty frantic. Lots of pushing and shoving goes on, but Hurlings leads, Ferrandis second, Lieber is third, Pocock is out at the end of the first lap. Doesn't look like a crash. Well, stretching out his arm, and his dad saying leave it for next week. So, Big Mel saying a little Mel. Ooh, the back end coming out of, was that Lieber's Yamaha? I think it was. Stepped out, lost a little bit of time there to Ferrandis. But I think Hurlings is being caught here. 1.3 now, the gap between Hurlings and Ferrandis. Nothing in it, about 0.05 of a second, but it's still Hurlings who sets the fastest lap of the race. Another quick look at the start, a great jump from Hurlings. Not so bad for Covington, but it was Jonas once again, and look how close it was here. Straight as a die for the 84 of Hurlings. Look at Ferrandis leaning on and across the front fender of Jeffrey Hurlings there. Anstey and Pocock both run wide. Oh, missed gear there for Ferrandis. Want to get on the gas, he couldn't. You saw the left foot just change as he realised he'd hit neutral. Would have lost him vital ground there and the run up through that wave section. But Hurlings looking good here, I have to say, despite the limited time that he says he's had on the bike. But he definitely looked like he'd worked hard in that first race in the post-race interview after moto number 1. Lurking dangerously in the background, Julian Liebert, so at the moment, the first 3 guys the same as they were at the end of moto number 1. Hurlings, Ferrandis, Liebert. Jonas is 4th though, Tonkov is 5th. Covington is still 6th, looking for a way around the Russian. Anstey is 7th on the Monster Energy DRT Kawasaki. Robert Just, the number 95 of Latvia on the HSF Logistics Motorsport KTM. Having a good ride in 8th place. Tixier, though, in 9th. Valentin Guillot is 10th. Geiser 11th on the Garibaldi Honda. Then Monticelli on the Marchetti Silver Action KTM. Then Seawer on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki. Petrov on the Hitachi Revo KTM. And then Brian Borges, Damon Growlers, Kemiya Yamaha. Then Sever Brulyakov, Benoit Paturel, Jens Getterman, and Grady Featherstone. Down past pit lane they go. Oh, big crash there from Ferrandis. Buried the front in a berm and it just flicked him over the handlebars like he'd just been thrown off a rodeo. And he is losing ground massively now early in the race. That's what's going to happen. Picks himself up, but from out of nowhere, as if somebody had just hit the eject button and launched him through the front door. Slammed him down hard as well. The ground quite soft and stodgy there, so he wouldn't have bounced too good. Monticelli just ahead of him. I'm sure we'll see a replay of that in the next few moments, but just watch how the front buries itself and the back end kicks viciously round on him. Gets back past Monticelli there, though. Look at this. On the gas, Hurlings is through, and just from out of nowhere, and he's looking at it. What did he hit? Just buried the front, collapsed the berm there, look. So, a massive let-off for Jeffrey Hurlings then. But what that does do is put Julian Liebert, promotes him to 2nd position on that standing construct Yamaha. What a debut ride for him and that team. The opening round, that would stick him 2nd overall. Clearly his best overall finish in an MX2 Grand Prix. But Jeffrey Hurlings, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing then. Getting to the front, staying out of trouble for now at least, with 21 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Lieber will be 2nd, Jonas will get to 3rd, Tonkov 4th. That'll put Thomas Covington in 5th position. Covington, of course, the Monster Energy Kawasaki teammate of Dylan Ferrandis. Then it'll be Anstey, Tixier, and Just. Who else has gone down? Oh, is that Tixier? Covington. Oh, Covington's down. So Covington out of what would have been, no, he's already dropping down the order. So the 2 Kawasaki's losing front ends in quick succession. Hurlings just staying out of trouble, as we said a moment ago. Can't afford to crash though, really, can he? Sometimes you make your own luck. Sometimes your team, the guys around you, make it for you. And Hurlings, last time around, a 153.446 compared to, there is the 64 of Covington, down in 19th now. So not the 2nd position, no, not the 2nd race he was looking for. But picking himself up, rejoining the race. He'll try and get his head down and try and pick as many points up as he can. But from one moment of being inside the top 5, it will change at the drop of a front wheel. Thomas Covington was saying in the press conference after qualifying yesterday He actually joked that after leading the race, he thought, yeah, I didn't really want to be in the press conference, and gave up the lead to Hurlings, which obviously was a joke because he didn't want to be in the press conference. He wanted to go back to the hotel, but we had the grace to invite him in anyway because of his performance yesterday. But he said in the winter he's upped his program a little bit, changed a few things up, and spent a lot of time riding with Tyler Rattray and Ryan Villapoto, and learnt a lot as well. So obviously coming into this season having learnt a lot from last year in his rookie season in MX2, and then spending the winter with those guys on the senior Monster Energy team. And he was showing good speed there as well until that one little mistake, similar actually to his teammate Dylan Ferrandis coming out of that corner there. But there's 59, Alexander Tonkov in the background on that white Wilvo Star Husqvarna. A much better start for him in this second race because moto number 1, he started 12th, got up as high as 8th before dropping back to 10th about the halfway point. But Jonas having a solid ride. Eventually dropped down to 9th after leading for 4 laps in the first race, Pels Jonas from Latvia, but you can see he looks to be tightening up a little bit there, rushing the corners and having to lock it up and just reassess and regroup, not making good smooth work of those turns in some instances there. So Tonkov will certainly be applying the pressure. Just saw a flash of white in the background as well in 5th. White and red, that's the 99 on the Monster Energy DRT Kawasaki behind these guys. Max Anstey, heard him there on the pre-grid just before the start of the race, riding with stitches in his foot. Oh, who's that? Oh, Brian Borges. 189 on the HSF Logistics KTM, pushing that bike back. He was in 14th place. And he retires, pushes his bike through the infield section here of the LaSalle circuit. Tonkov has just found a way past Jonas, so Tonkov now in 3rd position. And Alexander Tonkov, who finished 8th last year, his best finish in an overall Grand Prix. 3 times he was 6th on the way to that position, but in terms of race finishes for Tonkov, a couple of 5th places along the way, nothing more than that. So, first year on Husqvarna last year, so knows a bit more about the bike this year. Same team, same everything, a bit more development. And if he gets a result here in this second race, that'll set him up perfectly. 5th overall here last year though. And that was a pass. Tonkov on Jonas. Jonas leaving the door open. Probably heard him there and thought about squaring back up actually in his defence, but there's Tonkov, 3rd. What was his lap time? It was a personal best for him, a 53.7 that time around, 7.31. It was about 600ths quicker than Julian Lieber, ahead of him in 2nd position, about 4 seconds further up the track, and Anstey's gone through as well. So Jonas, like he did in the first race, starting to feel the pressure here, starting to fade. So Hurlings, Lieber, Tonkov and Anstey, now your top 4. There's Anstey on that green Kawasaki, number 99. And then the 41 of Jonas from Latvia. Then who's that in the background? Tixier closing in on the number 1, the defending champion in 6th position on the Monster Energy Kawasaki. Then Valentin Guillot, the 2nd of the standing construct Yamaha Yamalube machines, having a slightly better ride. He was 8th in moto number 1, but he came from outside the top 15 to get there. Tixier closing in all the time on Pels Jonas, so expect him to find a way through in the next lap or so. Anstey was popping that double yesterday in practice, first one to do it, but as you can see, a whole load of deep lines through that next right-hander as Kai Rowley looks on here. Checking, seeing what's happening, already up here getting ready. So far away from the road race garages, which we utilise for the paddock space for the riders. And the MXGP guys obviously changed up here, going to watch the race, and then they're right where they need to be, can look at the track as well. But Tixier, as we said a moment ago, no time at all on the rear wheel of the 41 Pulse Jonas on that Red Bull KTM. Oh, and he goes down in a move very similar to Nancy van der Ven in the women's round earlier. He caught that hook on the last wave there, and it just pitched the back end, sent him onto the front wheel, and he just had a wobble, and he can't get that started. Now he does eventually, but look how many kicks it's cost him. Watch this, everything good there, just short on the back wheel, boom, picked him up, couldn't do anything. If the ruts weren't that deep, it would have been fine, but he just lost control and threw him down to the ground. So Tixier out of 6th place. And Petrov just behind him. So Petrov on the Hitachi Construction Machinery Revo KTM 152, just behind Tixier, who drops to, we've got yellow flags out there as well in the next left-hander. Oh, and that's the Kawasaki on the downside. That's a double. Is that? Wow. Can't even say. That's the same double jump that caught out Ben Watson. Oh, Anstey. Oh, big crash for Max Anstey. Oh. So the triple catching out Anstey again, that double single combination. That's definitely caught out a few people. Again, he was the first guy to jump. Good to see him sitting up though, because that was an ugly crash. Ugly crash. Oh. Chris Benford assisting him there. But, oh, that was a horrible crash there from Anstey, but good to see him upright. Well, up. Just looked like he tried seat bouncing it and the front dipped in and just threw him over. So once again, as we said before, you make your luck and sometimes it's created for you. Jeffrey Hurling's got a start, he stayed out of trouble. Ferrandis has crashed by the wayside. Covington's fallen by the wayside. Tixier and now Anstey. And even Tim Geiser, who was running 3rd or 4th in the opening lap off the same jump earlier on in the race, he had an off-track excursion and dropped down to about 11th place before rejoining the track. Didn't crash, but again, another guy fancied for wins and Grand Prix victories and a shot at the title this year in 2015. Handing vital points to Jeffrey Hurlings in this opening round where everybody thought they could utilise that advantage. But a neat move there from the number 4, Dylan Ferrandis, as he finds a way past the 92 of Valentin Guillot on that standing construct Yamaha Yamalube machine. And that puts him up into the pass on 5th then. Ferrandis on Guillot, the Frenchman on the Swiss. So charging his way back towards the front in what is now a damage limitation exercise for Dylan Ferrandis. Number 4 here on the Monster Energy Kawasaki. Got himself up into 5th place ahead of Valentin Guillot. He's 5 seconds down on Pals Jonas on the Red Bull KTM, who should be just at the other end of this straight. So with just under 11 minutes plus 2 to go, Jeffrey Hurlings has a 6.7 advantage, which is better than he could have wished for a couple of weeks ago when he first started training again. Lieber is 2nd on the standing construct Yamaha. 3rd is Alexander Tonkov on the Wilvona Starn Husqvarna. 4th is this guy here, Red Bull KTM, Factory Racing, Pals Jonas. Ferrandis is now in 5th, we say about 4 or 5 seconds further back. Ferrandis 2 seconds a lap quicker than Jonas, so within the space of a lap he's going to be on him. Then we've got Valentin Guillot, the Yamaha just behind, number 92. He's in 6th place. Geiser on the Honda Garibaldi HRC back machine. Just saw him coming into land as well behind the 92 here. Geiser, the Slovenian, in 7th. Jeremy Sewa on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki is in 8th. Robert Tixier is 9th on the 2nd of the Monster Energy Kawasaki is in 10th. Is Jordi Tixier. Robert Just is 11th on the HSF Logistics KTM. 12th is Monticelli on the Marchetti Silver Action KTM. Then it's Seva Brilyakov on the JTEC Honda. Getterman, his teammate, in 14th. Covington on the Monster Energy Kawasaki, 15th, with Growlers, Patcherell, Featherston and Golovkin rounding out top 20. There's Tim Geiser. Big let-off moment for him, second or third lap, as he cased the double in the centre of the circuit that caught out Ben Watson in the first race, and Max Anstey in the second one just a couple of laps ago, as he was challenging Tonkov for a possible top 3 position in this second race, where he'd pick up valuable points. But Guillot going with Ferrandis, and they're leaving the Honda here behind of Tim Geiser. Geiser in 7th position here, number 243. Back onto the start straight, into turn 1. The circuit, brutal now, hard, slick, Nadri, rocky, deep ruts and soft berms. This is where Tixier crashed a few laps ago, as he was working his way through the field. Yeah, Anstey. Walks away despondently. Well, he picked up points in the first race, could have picked up more big points in the second race. And a mistake from Ferrandis just a moment ago. Allows Guillot. Oh, look at that. He saves it, just pushing too hard, asking a little bit too much of the front there, Ferrandis. So a let-off for Dylan Ferrandis just there in a moment. Oh! A little bit short there on that jump, just a rider just a moment ago. Who was that? Was that Guillot? I think it was. Guillot getting short there. Another rider who cased the double in the middle. Seven minutes, 22 seconds plus 2 laps to go in this second MX2 race here. The opening round of the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. Jeffrey Hurlings continues to lead by the slenderest of margins by his standards, just 7.1 seconds over Julian Lieber on the standing construct Yamaha, who's having a fantastic ride here. First time out on his new bike with the same team that he finished off with at the end of last season. Alexander Tonkov on the Wilvo Nastan Husqvarna is 3rd. The Russian rider there, Pauls Jonas on the Red Bull KTM is 4th. Ferrandis is 5th. Guillot is 6th, and Geiser is 7th, and that's the battle we're looking at here. Grady Featherston just inside the points there in 18th as Guillot goes through. There's Hurlings, our race leader. Just behind Tim Geiser, Jeremy Seward is 8th, Tixier 9th, and Robert Just is 10th. We lost Max Anstey a handful of laps ago. Big mistake on the double single section in the middle of the circuit when he was hovering just outside the top 3 position. Caught him out massively. Crashed through here. Caught out a few riders this weekend, actually, that has. Bobrashev in warm-up this morning. Or earlier this evening. Ben Watson in the first MX2 race, Max Anstey. Nathan Watson crashed there as well in the first MXGP race. We just saw a shot of Valentin Guillot get caught short there, but he saved it. Similar to Tim Geiser on the second lap, where he obviously jumped short and off the track. Problem with it is you have to go wide and you have to get full gas, full drive down on the rear wheel, and you have to be committed. And if there's a moment where you lose any drive whatsoever on the face, you're already committed, because it's so high and so deep in the middle there that the crash is more likely to be inevitable. But Hurlings, with 5 to go, just looking. Another rider down. Growless is down. So Damon Growless, where's that? That's at the end of the wave section going into turn 3. So he's obviously had a moment similar to that of Tixier's. Threw him over the handlebars, and we saw what happened, how that happened. There's obviously a bit of a hook there on the last wave as they come in, and if you get that wrong and it pitches you over the bars, saw the bike was pretty close to him as well, so either the marshals are using that to protect him, or he's probably just been hit by his own bike, and obviously being lifted on a stretcher could be anything really, but what a performance from this guy here. Jeffrey Hurlings. Not 100%, not close to 100%, he said, maybe 60 or 70% in his press conference qualifying yesterday. Well, if that's 60, 70% where he's 2 or 3 seconds down on his usual performance, these guys are already up against it as we head to Thailand in a week's time, which incidentally will be a brand new track. Won't be the same circuit that we've been to the last 2 years. Be a brand new one. And then about 3 weeks after that, we go to round 3 in Argentina. Not so far from in the Patagonia region, but again, a brand new circuit. But 91, Jeremy Siwa here, Rockstar Energy Suzuki Europe, doing his best to hold off the number 1, the defending champion of Jordi Tixier. These guys battling over 8th place, but Tixier doesn't tell the whole story for him. He crashed at the end of the waves, remember, lost a bunch of positions because he couldn't get that bike fired into life. He'll be asking for an electric start when we get back to Europe, sure. Having been used to one on KTMs for the last few years. But over the line they come, they will complete lap 13 now. So it's Hurlings still less than 8 seconds clear of Lieber. KTM leading the Yamaha, leading the Husqvarna of Tonkov. The KTM of Jonas, the Kawasaki of Ferrandis in 5th. Valentin Guillot is 6th. Geisser 7th for Honda, 8th Siwa here, 91. Behind him, the number 1, defending champion, Jordi Tixier in 9th. And Petar Petrov is in 10th place on the Hitachi Revo KTM. Covington is up to 11th, so he's dug in and he's worked his way up the field. And how far is he? All right, you know what? He's all over the back of Petrov, so knocking on the door for the top 10 place here in the closing stages of the second MX2 race. But it will be too much of an ask to go after Tixier, who's about 20 seconds ahead of him. But here's Lieber. What a great ride from him. Stylish little rider. Clicked with the KTM when he jumped on it last year, and then when the team announced they were going to Yamaha, the riders on that team that were signed to the team and not a manufacturer must have been thinking, okay, that'll be interesting, because they were putting in some great performances. But this guy here is jumping on that Yamaha, and he's obviously proven that he likes that as well. And Valentin Guillot having similar results in the winter season in certain Supercross races in the European Supercross season, winning in Geneva. He's actually not too badly placed here. 6th in his second race at the moment, 8th in the first race. So good day, good solid performance from standing construct here, round 1, Qatar. Lieber over the line then, 14 laps complete for him. Not too far behind him is Tonkov, but Tonkov not able, well, half a second that time he managed to take out of the Belgian. There he is, lurking dangerously in the background. This will be good enough for second overall. And the team pretty much picking up from where they left off, because Valentin Guillot finished 3rd for standing construct the final round in Mexico. So back-to-back podiums for that team when you do the carryover from 14 to 15. Didn't take too long for this guy to get back into his winning ways, though, did it? Jeffrey Hurlings. 8 seconds clear now of Lieber. Covington has moved into 10th, finding a way past Petrov, so that was almost an inevitability, because he was lapping quicker and he was only a stone's throw away from the Bulgarian, Petar Petrov, who now drops to 11th. Again, his first Grand Prix of the year for a new team, the Hitachi Revo boys. But Hurlings Red Bull KTM leads. This guy here, second, 33, standing construct, Yamaha, Julian Lieber. Tonkov on the Will Vonastan Husqvarna is 3rd. What's turning out to be a decent day, decent evening for Husqvarna in general, especially with what happened in MXGP race 1. Pals Jonas showing that he's, although he's a little bit off the pace, could be a top 5 contender in the championship this year, in his first year in MX2 as a rookie. And then Ferrandis was right there challenging Hurlings for the lead when he fell, lap 3, lap 4. Is now up into 5th place on the Monster Energy Kawasaki, as Hurlings goes past the area where Ferrandis crashed earlier on in the race. This is 2nd place rider, Lieber, and Tonkov closing in. Tonkov not done yet. Still plenty of time, 2 laps to go. Guillaume is still in 6th place, but he's 5 seconds down on this battle here. Then we've got Geiser in 7th. Still not able to challenge, but right on the rear wheel of Guillaume on his HRC Garibaldi Honda. Tixier 9th, Covington 10th. Brady Featherstone having a great ride in 17th position in what is his first MX2 Grand Prix as well. Riding the number 93 on the RB Racing Suzuki. Youngster from Chesterfield, spent a year in the USA last year, incidentally. Fell asleep in the greenhouse when he was a kid. He's about 7'10" tall. But managing to wrestle this little MX2 machine around this Qatar circuit. With relative ease. Just outside of the points in race 1, but 17th in the second race for him. But no problems or no dramas so far for Hurlings with just over a lap to go. Julian Lieber and Alexander Tonkov continue to get over the double that's caught out so many riders this weekend. As they continue to battle for second position. Just over a lap to go. Oh, you can see how hard Tonkov's working. Had about 4 stabs at that right-hander, turn 11. Hurling's already over the line though, 1:56.4 on his 16th lap. Lieber here, a 54. He's got the gap down to 5.6, so about a second and a half quicker, 2 seconds quicker than Hurlings. Who is he now just starting to fade a little bit? Has he still got it under control? You would expect so. Put the hard work in at the start of the race, made everybody else chase him. And that's why the Kawasaki of Ferrandis was just a little bit unfortunate, pushing too hard, lost the front end and a soft part in one of those corners. So, our announcer getting pretty excited down there. Looks like Ferrandis is all over the back of Pauls Jonas, looking to pick up a couple more points. Remember, 25 points for a win, that's Hurlings at the moment. 22 for second, Julian Lieber, 23 for Tonkov in third, 18 for Pauls Jonas in fourth, and Ferrandis looking at picking up 16 points in 5th place. But look at that, Hurlings, Lieber, Ferrandis. And it wouldn't affect the overall, even if Ferrandis was to move past Jonas on the final lap here, he'd just end up on 40 points. So I'd love to go back to that Jonas-Ferrandis battle. But Hurlings, though, halfway around the final lap. As he is just over 5 seconds clear. Here's Lieber. Great ride for him. The performance of the weekend for me by far. Hurlings, you kind of expect it from him, a 2-time world champ, the amount of races and Grand Prix that he has won over the past few years, but Julian Lieber, was it a flash in the pan in Moto number 1 when he came home in 3rd? Well, he's proving everybody wrong in the second race. Cannot take anything away from him. But here's going to be your winner, Jeffrey Hurlings, 84, Red Bull Factory KTM Racing, takes the flag, takes a double moto victory, and wins the first round here in Qatar. Julian Lieber, a great ride for him, gets him 2nd overall here, his first ever podium finish, his best career victory in MX2. And a great standout performance. First time on the podium in race 1 with a 3rd. He backs it up with a 2nd in Moto number 2. And what a great day for standing construct. Yamaha, Yamalube as well. But Hurlings, he is ecstatic underneath that helmet. He can't believe it. And he is going to walk away from here with 50 points in the bag. And it means the world to him, as you can see. Lieber 2nd, Tonkov 3rd, Jonas 4th. Ferrandis comes home in 5th, and that'll be good enough for 3rd overall. So just behind them then, Ferrandis 5th, Valentin Guillaume 6th, Geiser 7th, Siwa 8th, Tixier 9th, Covington 10th. Of course, we'll give you the official result in just a moment, the race result and the championship, the overall result from round 1, which of course will be the same as the championship classification as well. Riders still coming over the line. But there is Stefan Everts. Not the MX2 team manager anymore, more working with the youth, which includes Pauls Jonas. really have too much to do with Jeffrey Hurlings anymore. Doesn't have to work with him, he said, so he's not here in that official role that he was in before. But Lisa Leyland is down, waiting in the wings, getting ready to speak to our winner, Jeffrey Hurlings. Let's hear what he has to say. How emotional is he?
Jeffrey, congratulations. You've got your first moto win, an overall win today in Qatar. After a really tough end to last year, I can tell it obviously means a lot to you.
I mean, I had so much bad luck. I've been in hospital for many months, for many weeks, and it was so tough to get back mentally and physically. And with just 2 weeks on the bike, I show what I'm capable of doing, and I love my job. I never could do it without my girlfriend, my team, and my parents always stood behind me when I had nobody. So it's the first time I'm really emotional about a win, and it just means so much to me because I've never been going through so many bad things, and it's been tough, but glad to be here.
Congratulations, well deserved. Thank you.
So a great day for Jeffrey Hurlings. You saw what it meant to him as well as he came over the finish line, and saw him celebrate, and as he ran alongside the pit lane area, his head was on the handlebars, and when he took the helmet off, you could see the emotion welling up inside him, just bursting out of him, and you can see how much it meant for him. Jeffrey Hurlings then victorious here. There's the overall classification. Hurlings wins the MX2 GP of Qatar, 50 points. Lieber, great ride for him, standing construct Yamaha second. Ferrandis was third for Kawasaki. And Geiser, Tonkov, Jonas, Siwa, and Guio rounding out the top 8 with Tixier 9. Thomas Covington, 10th overall, 21 points on the board for him. Better than last year, but slightly disappointing for him. I'm sure he will be disappointed after what was a great qualifying race yesterday. But this goes to show, doesn't it, the difference between qualifying and racing. But that mistake when he was inside the top 10 early on in Moto number 2 cost him any chance of a few more points. But it showed great character in bringing it back the way that he did. KTM lead the way in the Constructors World Championship. Yamaha second, Kawasaki third, Honda, Husqvarna and Suzuki bringing up the rear in 6th place. But it's all very close. Start of the race, Dylan Ferrandis took his Kawasaki to the Vauxhall shot. Sean Gougain, who raced here actually in the locals race a couple of years ago. Tyler Rattray's ex-mechanic, handing him the black plate. So it's one apiece now for Pals Jonas and Dylan Ferrandis as we go to Thailand in a week's time. Remember, about 5,000 euros on the line for the winner of the Fox Hole Shot Award, which amounts to the most hole shots over the year, 1 point per hole shot. So 18 rounds, 36 attempts. Getting ready for the podium here in Qatar for the MX2 Grand Prix. A couple of the guys that on the podium we'd have expected to have seen. Jeffrey Hurlings, definitely we couldn't have assumed before the start of the weekend that it was definitely or necessarily going to be a win. The way he was talking, if it was a 5th, it was going to be 5th. He's going to be happy with that. He can build on that because it's points on the board. But to go out and win in the way that he has, the manner that he has, a good hard-fought race in Moto number 1, went from 2nd to 1st, back to 2nd, took the battle to Dylan Ferrandis in Moto number 1 to come out 4 laps from home and sneak the pass that eventually gave him that first race win. And from Hurlings' point of view, where in the past he's been hell-bent on, I want to win every Moto, win every GP, in that respect, he's on to a much better start. But Dylan Ferrandis, Monster Energy Kawasaki Racing Team, will have to be content with 3rd overall. Didn't score in 13, was injured. Was 2nd overall with a win and a 6th. But Julian Lieber, standing construct Yamaha Yamalube, stands on the 2nd step of the podium, the 1st ever podium for him. But Jeffrey Hurlings, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, takes the overall victory here, the MX2 Grand Prix of Qatar, in what has turned out to be a real turn-up for the books. And Dirk Grubel, the new team manager for the MX2 side of the garage at Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, stands proudly stage right, stage left as we look at it. Mr. Ayed Saidi, Alpha Dan Automobiles, one of the sponsors here this weekend, delivers a 3rd place trophy to Ferrandis. Dr. Wolfgang Strub, FIM Europe president now, hands the 2nd place trophy to Julian Lieber, standing construct Yamaha Yamalube. And the winner's trophy will go to Jeffrey Hurlings, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. Saw how emotional he was. Of course, Mr. Nasser Khalifa Al-Attiyah, the FIM deputy president and the QMMF president, the guy who's responsible for putting all this together, this facility here. It was his dream to not just build the road race circuit, but the motocross track as well. And it's always thrown up some pretty decent racing. Dirk Grubel takes the manufacturer's trophy as well for KTM. Apologies for the lack of sound down there, or certainly not getting sound through my headset, but as is the norm. Before we do the national anthems, Mr. Tony Skillington, the FIM CMS director, hands the championship leader's red plate to Jeffrey Hurlings, who wins here in Qatar. Against all the odds? Really? Possibly. So Jeffrey Hurlings then wins, and for him, the national anthem of the Netherlands. Well, apologies for the loss of sound down there. All you can hear through our headset, and as I'm aware, all you guys can hear at home as well, is the noise of the machines. But Jeffrey Hurlings and KTM winners here this weekend in Qatar. National anthem for the Netherlands and Austria for KTM. Jeffrey Hurlings is one happy fellow down there, and so too the standing construct Yamaha rider Julian Lieber, 2nd overall with a 3rd and a 2nd this weekend. Dylan Ferrandis, well, that was some kind of salvage operation for him in 3rd, wasn't it? And while they make their way to us, some of the best moments from MX2 Race 2. The gate dropped, Hurlings lightning fast out of the gate, so too was Ferrandis, and it was he who grabbed the foxhole shot award right at the start of the race. He put the squeeze on Hurlings through turn 1. The 2 Kawasaki's of Anstey and Pocock were right alongside as well. Pocock would last no more than a lap. Jonas was there in 2nd position. Ferrandis was challenging in 3rd with Lieber. And there was a spin out there for Jeremy Seawer, which we didn't catch originally. Tonkov was always in the hunt, and he eventually came home in 4th place. In 3rd place in that final race. But Jeffrey Hurlings was starting to pull away, and as he was closed down by Ferrandis, that mistake cost him any chance of a possible race victory and maybe overall Grand Prix victory as well. His teammate didn't fare much better. lost the back end going into the wave section. He went down, and a Kawasaki rider in the form of Max Anstey also bit the dust hard, and he was very lucky to be able to get up and walk away from that one. Thomas Covington also fell, but as the race went on, Ferrandis got himself back into gear, found a way past the 92 of Valentin Guyot, and that got him 5th, and that's where he would stay. A couple more mistakes along the way, though. Tested the Frenchman, but he managed to save that and keep Guyot at bay. But it was a second moto win in the overall Grand Prix victory for Jeffy Hurlings and Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. Second went to Lieber in the race and the overall. Tonkov was 3rd, but it was Ferrandis who took the 3rd place on the podium. Well, before we go speak to our winners, just a quick reminder as to where we are in the calendar. Qatar, obviously the opening round here, but in a week's time we go to Thailand. So the guys will be heading down there tomorrow, some on Monday. In fact, some of the riders even heading home to do a day's riding or two before heading back out to Thailand. But you see Argentina, Italy, Europe, Spain, Great Britain, France, Italy, a true world championship now. Germany, Sweden, Latvia, Czech Republic, Belgium. That was Brazil, the TBA, but we'll have an announcement in the next week or so. So it could be back in Brazil or somewhere in Europe, we're led to believe. Then back to the Netherlands at the circuit of Assen, then Mexico, and the title, well, the championship decider, or finale, 20th of September in America, United States of America, at the circuit of Glen Helen. And what we're not showing on there, of course, a week after that, the FIM Monster Energy Motocross of Nations in France at Ernay. And it's crammed in as well over the next 7 months. Between now and the penultimate weekend in September, as you saw, 20th September in the USA, Glen Helen. A little bit of track maintenance going on in anticipation and readiness for the second MXGP race. But hopefully we'll be able to bring you the interviews with our winners, Jeffrey Hurlings, Julian Lieber, and, of course, Dylan Ferrandis. But if not, then, of course, we will head into our next live broadcast, which will be MXGP Race 2, which will bring the curtain down on the opening round of the FIM MXGP World Motocross Championship here in Qatar. Lots of questions still unanswered in that MXGP category. Be interesting to see how that second race turns out. But talking of MX2 Race 2, Jeffrey Hurlings, Julian Lieber, Tonkov, they were your top 3. Jonas, a great result for him to come home in 4th. Dylan Ferrandis came home 5th. Valentin Guyot was 6th. Tim Geiser was 7th. Jeremy Sewa was 8th. Tixier was 9th. And Thomas Covington got back to 10th with a couple of laps to go. Petar Petrov came home in 11th, ahead of Seva Brilyakov on the JTEC Honda and Jens Getterman, same team. Then Ivo Monticelli, and then Robert Just. Grady Featherstone, good points on the board for him. The young Brit, RB Racing Suzuki, came home in 16th. Vyacheslav Golokin 17th, and Artem Guriev picking up points from Russia. Damon Graulis was 19th, and Max Anstey managed to salvage a point even though he didn't finish because of other guys dropping out in and around him as well. So some consolation for the Brit. But technical issues down by the podium, I'm afraid, so no interviews. But we will be back shortly for MXGP Race 2. Don't go away.